That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? The axe of Zaslav is legendary and strong.
Well, I haven't heard that in a while.
And when, all Zaz came in and they took over Warner Brothers and he started wielding the axe, a lot of people said, this is terrible. This is awful. And I told people for a couple of years, these are brilliant moves. And you are going to see that this is going to pay off in the long run. Now, whenever a major regime change happens in a studio, what do we always say? You got to give it a couple of years to see what the actual impact is going to be of the regime change, right? We said it when new CEOs come, when new ownership groups come, it's always going to take a while to see what the results are. Well, Warner Brothers Discovery, as the insider newsletter Puck has put it, they've turned the corner. In the latest earnings call, a number of things have come out about what they've done. Now, before we get into what Puck has been reporting here, I want to remind everybody of what the status of Warner Brothers and Warner Media was when David Zaslav and Discovery took it over. AT&T, who were the previous owners of Warner Media, bought Warner Brothers and Warner Media for about $85 billion. Is that what it was? Somewhere around $85 billion. Ran it into the ground, and just a few years later, sold it for a $40 billion loss. A $40 billion loss. Filmmakers like Denis Villeneuve started writing scathing articles about them. Christopher Nolan bailed, said, I'm done with you guys. Double effers, and out the door he went. That's an exact a reenactment of what happened, by the way. He had a
slight British accent.
A slight British accent when he did it, and he walked out the door.
He's a pish posh.
When you got to understand, when the living body of Warner Brothers came in, it wasn't a healthy subject. It was an emergency room patient that got brought in on a gurney with 23 gunshot wounds, 7 stab wounds, and the bear from that Leonardo DiCaprio movie biting on its balls. That was Warner Brothers. It was on death's door. It had no hope. It had no future. The first thing David Zaslav started to do was very unpopular, but he started taking the axe of Zaslav and he started cutting. He said, we got to reduce our debt. We're never going to survive as a company unless we reduce our debt. We got to do all these things. We got to reemphasize our stuff here, and here. And now, as the folks over at Puck wrote, it's now finally all paying off. Puck wrote the following. Warner Brothers Discovery has now paid down $19 billion of its debt load in nearly 3 years. We will continue to be super focused on this, the chief financial officer, Gunnar Wildfeld, said during the company's earnings call on Thursday morning. As I've reported, this isn't just a balance sheet narrative, however. Warner Bros. Discovery has achieved a fair amount of success in the fastest growing parts of the business. Zaz's strategy, I love that he calls them Zaz's. Zaz's strategy of internationalizing HBO Max, Warner Bros. Discovery direct-to-consumer offerings seems to be paying off. Total direct-to-consumer subscribers reached 117 million in the fourth quarter, with the majority of those subscribers, nearly 60 million, coming from outside the United States after penetrating those markets. There were also unexpected subscriber growth in the U.S., with some 4.5 million new subscribers domestically, as compared to the analyst expectations of just 2.8 million. The U.S. is a pretty mature market, Zaz said. We think that there's still some growth given the quality of our service, and we're fighting for that. Meanwhile, streaming is now solidly profitable at Warner Brothers Discovery. In the fourth quarter, DTC adjusted EBITDA, that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization.
Yeah.
There we go. I hate that term, as Zaz knows, was $409 million, up from a loss in the fourth quarter of 2023 and above the $275 million that Wall Street was expecting. As Morale wrote in his note, for all of 2024, direct-to-consumer adjusted EBITDA was a $677 million, up exponentially from the $103 million in 2023. On top of all that, if I had taken Jonathan Voico's advice a year ago when he said, I think now's a good time to buy into Warner Brothers, I would have made a lot of money because just in the last year, Warner Brothers stock has gone up 40%. 40% in the last year. Listen, I've been saying this for years, and everybody keeps saying me, you're just a Zaslav fanboy. Oh, what he's doing is terrible. Oh, what he's doing is destroying everything. And I kept telling people, you got to look at this long term. He's making cuts where they have to make cuts. He's making painful sacrifices where painful sacrifices have to be made because the long-term health of the company depends on it. And now, as we're entering year 3, from when the actual finalization of the takeover, which I believe was in April of 2022, we're finally seeing this dead, decomposing corpse
with no balls,
with no balls in a bear's mouth. Phrasing that could be taken a certain way. Anyway, like this dying thing that was wheeled on a gurney is actually starting to show signs of life again. The axe of Zaslav defeats Mjolnir, in my estimation. And listen, has everything gone perfectly? Absolutely not. Look what happened to Joker 2. I mean, have there been, absolutely there have been missteps along the way. All I know is this. When you look at the condition of the patient from April of 2022 to where they're at today, it's a hell of a lot better. And I think it's only going to get better. Anyway, guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Hungryroot. You know, grocery shopping used to be one of the biggest struggles. Between your busy schedule and wanting to eat healthier, it just feels impossible to stay on top of everything. But all that changes when you discover Hungryroot, the easiest way to eat healthy without the hassles. Hungryroot is like having your own personal grocery shopper. They take care of the weekly shopping for you, recommending healthy, high-quality groceries tailored to your tastes, nutritional preferences, and even health goals. They've got it all: smoothies, snacks for the kids, ready-to-eat meals, and even supplements. For me, Hungryroot is absolutely a game changer, guys. My health goals have become so much easier to stick to. I love how they personalize my cart every week and even get smart about my preferences as I go. It's honestly stress-free and so simple. You're gonna love Hungryroot as much as I do. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's hungryroot.com/Campea using the code Campea to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea. Chris, you saw these stats, these numbers. They still, by the way, let's not mince words. They still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But at least their streaming is now consistently profitable. They're gaining numbers. Their stock is going up. Their debt has gone down. What do you think is still important that they need to do and accomplish moving forward? Because there is still a lot of work to do. How do you see it?
Sure. And I'm definitely not the right person for this topic. I want to be very clear about that because I am not a business-minded person aside from my own small business. And I'm also a creative.
By the way, small business where she will teach you how to get into voice acting.
Speakfriendstudio.com. Go ahead. Go over there. But I come from the actor's perspective. So David Zaslav is not one of my favorite individuals. The video game strike is still going on. WB Games is one of the holdouts. About a week ago, they shut down 3 of their gaming divisions. Surely to save money, but also I feel like so many of the budgetary things that are happening here, while necessary, are definitely at the cost of creativity. I feel like moving forward, a lot of things too are also being made with second screen in mind. The lovely phenomenon of how addicted we all are to these, in which we are on our phones while we're watching television, so things get dumbed down. And you know, I want Warner Brothers, I want HBO, I want all of those things to still be high quality television. And that's always my fear when we just start gutting for the sake of making budget cuts. A comparison that I don't know if it'll work for everyone, but it feels like when you're doing spring cleaning and you just get rid of everything. You get rid of everything in your house, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, but I need that. Oh, and I need this, and I still need that. And then you just buy everything again. I'm worried that we're going to get to a point of gutting so that it's just this cavernous former studio that won't have the same wonderful content that I love. And that's the big thing. Balance the checkbook, but balance the creativity and balance the quality still.
I mean, you nailed it. And like one of the things that gives me hope, though, is like what I've seen from things like HBO Max and stuff like that recently. Like Last of Us was great. The HBO stuff we've been getting, Penguin was fabulous. And I mean, it's difficult. Although I will say this, it's difficult to put out quality content if your company goes under. Right. That makes it difficult. And like Chris is pointing out, Rob, it hasn't all been perfect. There's still a lot of work to do. I mean, for instance, they've got their biggest shift going where they took the Axis Zaslav to the old DCEU. We've now got a brand new DC, which they're really banking on the success of their movie division coming from that and Superman, stuff like that. What more work do you see here having to be done? What do they need to improve on?
Well, John, you got to restore that Snyderverse. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just, already my Twitter or my X just exploded. No, I think, look, they're, as far as the DCEU, they're all in. I mean, you got the Lantern show in production. You've got Supergirl in production. You have Superman coming out. Which, by the way, Clayface as well. I mean, I think that's a huge vote of confidence, by the way. I mean, they could have waited before they greenlit or moved forward with these projects to see how Superman did, which leads me to believe they're very bullish. The studio's bullish on this whole new DCEU, which is great. I'd love to see that happen as a DC fanboy. But look, again, you've got to go back to core principles, first principles. And I think that's what David Zaslav has done. You're going to take an entertainment company. You've got to go back and make great entertainment, and you have to do it in a way that's economically, none of these boondoggle. I'm sure the thing about Joker was it was unfortunate, but they haven't done that a lot. And they've gone back and they've concentrated on doing what they do best, which is making good content, maybe not for second screen so much. Chris, I agree with you. I hate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But making great television, making great movies, doing it economically. I think they've made some missteps, like they could have had Juror number 2 in theaters longer, things like that. But I think they're doing what they need to do to move forward and stay healthy. And look, we benefit because we get good entertainment.
I mean, to Chris's point though, is will we continue to get great entertainment, right? Like, so the hope here is that once they do move into solid profitability, again, earnings are up, profitability's up, stocks are up, debt is down, all that kind of stuff, that they then change their focus back to, okay, now we're on solid foundation. Let's start reinvesting more and more into stuff. And the stuff with Joker, I was talking to a friend of mine this morning about Joker 2, is that here's the thing, as much as I dislike Joker 2, and I remember I saw a screening and I came out and I'm like, guys, Joker 2 is not good. And everybody was like, oh, you're just being a hater. And then everybody else saw it and they're like, oh yeah, Joker 2 is really not any good.
Yeah.
Joker 2 is terrible. But even though it fell on its face and it flopped, I still maintain that it was the right gamble. I mean, the first one, right, made over $1 billion. It won Oscars. It did all that kind of stuff. And they invested into a filmmaker. They gave him too much power and Todd Phillips turned in a dud. As Todd Phillips will do every once in a while. Sometimes he makes brilliant stuff. Sometimes he turns in a dud. But it's just good to see that the patient isn't on not just life support, but the paddles that come out clear and trying to, at least the thing's got a beating heart now.
Well, and also you're not seeing people like Matt Reeves, the Penguin. You weren't reading articles about profligate spending and how much the show cost.
Yeah.
It was a show that was, it took a long time to make, but it was well produced. The results spoke for themselves. I mean, how many awards did Colin Farrell get?
Many awards. Yeah.
And I think that's what you focus on, creatives that know what they're doing, that aren't breaking the bank. And if you do that across the board, I think you can have a great result.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What's your perspective on this? Financially and from a stability point of view, Warner Brothers, as Puck is pointing out, is basically kind of turned a corner here. Still more work to do. What do you think has been the biggest keys to them having this big turnaround? What do you think are the areas they still need to work on to truly try to get it right? What are some of the things and all the things that they've done right do you think maybe they dropped the ball on? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.